Hey, this is Dan. I wanted to share with you, instead of writing up a devotional or something, I wanted to share with you what God's been sharing with me the last couple days from the book of Joshua. Now, this is a passage I've read before, and for some reason, when I was reading it this time, it really just jumped off the page to me. And so, I want to read to you. This is from Joshua chapter 9, and it's about the Gibeonites. And I hope that you kind of feel the same passion knocking on your heart that God's been knocking on mine with. And I'll just give you a little preface of what's going on here. Joshua and the army, they've already come out of the promised land, or they come into the promised land, and they are going through city by city, destroying as God had told them to, getting all the people who didn't believe in God out of the way so they can rebuild these cities for God. And they've already taken out Jericho. They've already had the trouble with Ai and Achan. And now here they are about to continue going forward, and they get a visit. They get a visit, though, from the Gibeonites. Now, we have the background story to know that the Gibeonites, they were one of the tribes that were supposed to be taken out. But because they were afraid of this, they thought, let's deceive them. Let's form an ally with Joshua and these people of Israel, and we can save ourselves from being destroyed in so doing. So they get this old crusty bread, and they get these old worn out clothes, and even though they're close, they come into the camp and they say, man, we have been traveling and traveling and traveling because we heard about the awesomeness of your God, and we want to be on your side. And Joshua and his people say, well, how do we know that you're not just one of the guys next door? Well, here, the Gibeonites say, check our food. See, look, our bread was nice and hot right out of the oven when we left. And now here it is, it's all moldy and crusted and hard as a rock. And look at our clothes. You know, these sandals were brand new when we left town. And now here we are. We've been traveling so long that they're all worn out. Well, let's pick up the rest of the story here in chapter 9. And it says, the men of Israel, and I'm in verse 14. The men of Israel sampled their provisions, but did not inquire of the Lord. Then Joshua made a treaty of peace with them and to let them live, and the leaders of the assembly ratified it by oath. The point I want to make, that's verses 14 to 15, but the point that I want to make is it says that even though Joshua and his group of guys, they all sampled, they all heard the story about how they traveled a far distance, they all saw the mold on the bread and stuff like that, they sampled for themselves these provisions, but they did not inquire of the Lord. And that's the point that God's been sharing with me the last couple of days, been pricking me with, by saying, hey Dan, you got these good ideas, but have you been inquiring of me? You know, I know that, and you probably heard this before too, there's a difference between a good idea and a God idea. And it's the God ideas we want to follow after. But how many times have I made a good idea, I've done something good that wasn't necessarily God? How about in my dating life? You know, back in the day, thank goodness I'm married now, but back in the day, how many good decisions did I make that weren't necessarily God decisions? I probably could have saved myself a lot of pain and a lot of trouble if I had just done the God thing first and not the good thing. Or how about when we go out and buy things? You know, just because we gotta have it doesn't mean it's a God idea. It's a good idea, but is it a God idea? I don't want to live my life with the background knowledge of knowing that I could have made better decisions, but I chose to make good decisions as opposed to God decisions. I don't want to be one of those ones that it's later on written about me someday. Well, Dan made he checked all the provisions and he checked all the statistics and all, but he did not inquire of the Lord. I don't want that to be said of me, and I don't want that to be said of you. And in order for that not to happen, we got to make better decisions. And we got to be at that point where we say, you know what, I'm not going to make any decision. I'm not going to go forward. I'm not going to go backward. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to stay right here until I inquire of the Lord and find out what He wants me to do. Think of the times that, in the book of Joshua, think of the times that Joshua did get the direction from the Lord and saw the victory. Take Jericho, for instance, the first city they came up to. The angel of the Lord said, I'm for God. I serve on his panel, and here's the battle plan. And Joshua got the battle plan. He inquired of the Lord, and here it was. March around the city one time, 6 days. On the seventh day, march around 7 times. Blow your horns, the walls will fall down. He got the battle plan. It was inquired from the Lord, got the battle plan, and there you have it. Same with the city of Ai. After they first had that problem with Achan and how he stole from them, stole the stuff that was sacred for God, they came and they got a battle plan. And then what was the battle plan? Do you remember? It was lead some of them out of the city by an attack in the front, but bring the other ones right around the back and take the back of the city. So they were stuck. The army of Ai was stuck in the middle between 2 sections of the army of God. That's a battle plan. They got that because they inquired of the Lord, what should we do? So my question to you is, are we inquiring of the Lord the way we should? I know, again, I have made too many decisions based on what sounds good as opposed to what is God. And I want to make God decisions. I've done enough of the other stuff. I want to make God decisions. So let's inquire of the Lord. Let's put our stuff on pause and ask him what he thinks. And I guarantee that in so doing, we are going to find that we are walking in this better purposed steps, because they will be the steps that God wants us to walk in. There's my thought for today. Thanks.